It's just really hard to describe how things are. Like, you see so clearly how, you know, you're not in control, you're not the doer. The thoughts that arise are not you. You don't see yourself as the body, like that sense that you're limited, or that's, you know, that's you, is falling away. And so it's really strange to describe, you know, like I can go out walking and it's like, whoa, like sometimes it's just like, can be kind of intense, like, wow, legs are moving, arms are moving, and it's just like, it's just happening. And I can't even say that this is my body. It's just really hard to properly put into words. And at the same time, so much emotion has been coming up. It's been really difficult. Especially right now, I'm visiting my mom, and I think that in itself has brought up a lot more as well that I didn't even know was there. So much so that like a lot of old ways of thinking came up even that were surprising, like something like, oh shit, like I'm done for now. I don't know, just thoughts that I didn't really resonate as much. And I was like, what? Like, I should do ayahuasca, or I should go back to my Reiki and breath and body exercises every day. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with any of that. I just didn't feel like that was true, like the thoughts were really true, or that I really wanted to do any of that. Which is kind of funny because, you know, you're used to thinking like, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do, and then maybe steps are taken to actually do these things. But now it's just kind of like seeing that and seeing the thoughts just kind of come and go, and it not lasting very long, or not really having a grip as it used to. Not that there hasn't been attempts at avoidance of not being with what is here, because it's so much and it's so intense and it's painful, and you know, there are times when I'd rather do any activity or listen to music than be there. But then it just becomes clear that, you know, it's just it's unavoidable, and it's just taking you farther away. And so, you know, eventually the body comes back to just being with what's arising. And I remember it wasn't always that easy to do. For the longest, when I was going through the, I guess, the most incapacitating parts of this for 2.5 years, and I had no choice but to be in extreme pain and just not being able to do anything, and all other sorts of sensations like vertigo and hearing things and seeing things as scintillating. Since it was so overwhelming, the body did want to escape, and eventually it got to the point of like seeing that, of course, sometimes you just can't, for whatever reason, the body would just can't deal for whatever reason, and you might want to escape into the mind, which only does more harm, but you can't help it anyway, so there's nothing wrong with it. But I remember, I think I read something where like even accepting that you can't be in the body, that you can't be with what's there. And so I decided to like just think about that, and yeah, I mean, I think at first it was really difficult, and so I couldn't even, I think, accept it. I think that at first just thinking about it, just thinking the words, or like, yeah, thinking it, or even saying it, like, there's acceptance for this, or I don't know, something along those lines, that kind of created a softening in the body mind for there to actually be room for being an acceptance of the resistance that was there. So I remember I would just do that whenever I could, lie down uncomfortably on a couch. And, it wasn't for very long either, because I couldn't really do it for long, because the sensations were kind of pretty overwhelming. And also the body had so much resistance to that even. And eventually it was like, what it felt like was that the body just took the lead. Like it would just take the lead more and more. That's just how it seemed. And it was more like, okay, so, the body's just doing everything. There was more of a seeing of that, and like just breathing with what was arising, not in any sort of like prescribed way, but whatever was just happening, because again, it just felt completely led by the body. It seemed at times that there was like a exhaling, and as in this exhale there was a release of stress, pent-up tensions. But this, again, it's all just what it felt like. I don't know exactly what was happening, and I can't say. And even though it felt like that was a landing place for me then, like doing that, and I thought, this is it. Like maybe this is the way, or this is just some sort of go-to thing that can be done. These things changed, and it was surprising because for the time being I had believed, okay, this is the way. This is how I will be able to move through what I'm going through this unfolding. And I don't know what that was, but other things would come up, and there was just trust. If the body was just talking gibberish, which it was, which people want to term that like speaking in tongues or whatever, but I honestly have no idea what that is. It could be it's just the body expressing however it needs to express. The labels just don't make sense. I mean, the labels just seem to be there obviously for a way to be able to communicate about it, perhaps, but you can also just say that it's just the body's way of doing what it needed to do, and maybe it needed to express, and it certainly moved in strange ways, and that was all fine. And thankfully, I was living with my dad during the time, and so he was very open-minded and accepting, and was able to be cool with it. Whereas it might have scared a lot of people. It certainly scared my mom and her side of the family, what the little I think that they know about it. And neighbors, if they saw me, because I would try to go outside sometimes, even though I couldn't really stay outside for long. Yeah, it's so crazy how you're not really allowed to just be as you are, though. I would just go outside, and at first I was like, I guess self-conscious, but then it's just like there's no room for that anymore, because there was no control. Like, the body just had to be however it was. And so if it looked really crazy, then that's just how it was. And like, there was no more care. It got to the point where it was just no care at all, and I would just go and lay on the grass at 5 a.m. That's what I needed to do because I couldn't sleep. And yeah, so there was a freeing up of that, I guess, those judgments that we carry about ourselves, and that I guess the constricting sort of effect that, I don't know, that hold, that it's like this conditioning and this judgment, not only of others, but also what you think others will be thinking of you, and you judge yourself as well. So that, definitely fell away during that period. Also, just seeing how silly all of these things are. All of these rules that you have to abide by, and like, they're all made up. Everything, absolutely everything is made up. So why continue to uphold them? Yeah, I was just thinking how being here in Peru has brought up so much pain, anger, overwhelm, to a really intense degree. And also just seeing that, for example, the person whom I'm with and who I've had a difficult relationship all of my life, my mom, it's just her, like, basically most people are just living inside of their heads, which is craziness, and truly believing that their thoughts are true and that's them. So in a way, it's like, it makes sense that, I don't know if it makes sense, but most of society is conditioned to believe their stories, the thoughts, that they're all true, and they are living from their head. They cannot be in the body because it's too scary. And if you're constantly, that's where you're coming from, then of course it's going to be as insane as it is. And yeah, there's just a clear seeing of the neurosis of society in general. Like, even in one phone call I remember I had with a nurse who was supposedly detailing me the preparation that I needed to follow before an exam, and it was to fast. But then she starts saying how, like, yeah, even if you brush your teeth, you have to be really careful because even if a tiny bit of water gets in and like you swallow that, then you cannot take the test. And I was just listening, like going like, what? Like, how insane is that? It's just ridiculous. Like, I'm not it's so extreme that you're going to be like worrying yourself even while you're brushing your teeth. And I don't know, it just seemed needlessly insane for a phone call. And but I guess that is the extent of intensity of the thoughts that drive people to live in this sort of really neurotic and anxious way. You know, it's so, yeah, it's like really intense anxiety. Yeah. And it's so difficult to be able to go through something like I did, where I was completely incapacitated and going through a really difficult, intense time, which you can call like a dark night of the soul, to better understand, or I don't know, falling away of the separate sense of self. I mean, you don't have any control when something like that happens, but if you're going through a difficult time where it's really difficult, but it's not so difficult that you can't like not work, or you think that you can't, then it's like the pressure to be a person is really intense there. And so that'll really stop you from being able to go all the way and, you know, really just take the time to be with absolutely everything that's there, absolutely everything that you've been living on top of, for all of that to, you know, really rise to the surface and for you to fully be with that. It's really difficult. Because the pressures of society and having to be a person are so intense that even though that whole thing is made up, it obviously, you know, you still need to support yourself. Unless you have, you know, family that you can stay at. Yeah, I mean, I think that is an underlying thing for a lot of people. Like, you have to be a person. And that makes sense, because that's what you're conditioned to do. It's just now it feels so wrong. So wrong and so foreign and just like poison. And yeah, like now I have been having to do this training for basically all of my free time, and it just takes a toll, you know. It doesn't come naturally, even though there has been the energy to do it. It's still I guess at the cost of still being able to have as much of the time that I need to really be with everything that's happening right now, with what's arising for me. And yeah, if the pressure wasn't there to do it, then it would probably be different. But you know, everyone's circumstances are different, and yeah, regardless, things are just happening as they are, and there's nothing wrong with anything. It's just clear that, you know, it's not gonna get me anywhere. Like, nothing is gonna get you anywhere. And, you know, nothing can get you to already this. You know, there's certain things that you need to do, but yeah, there's no one in control. You know, this life, apparent life, there's no one separate from it.